right, what's up, you dirtbags? We are back with the biggest episode we have ever had. My name is Luke Eggebraaten, co-host of the Dirtbags podcast. We've got our other co-host, Luke Payne, with us here. How are we doing, Luke?
I'm doing good, Luke. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing because, more importantly, we have got a very important guest, a candidate for Dirtbag of the Year. Monticello go crazy. We've got Garrett Williams from G&M Outdoor Services. What's going on, man?
Just doing my thing, doing what I've been doing the last 5 years.
Doing your thing. Doing your thing.
Love
it. Heavily
years.
anticipated episode. I'll tell you what. I got a lot of people that were like, I can't wait for this to come out. I got so many questions. And I'm like, send me those questions. I got like 4 of them.
Let's hear.
Dude,
it's ready for you.
So I'm going to jump in. So 5 years, you said you've been doing this thing. You're 22 years old. So I have down July 2017. That's when you started the business.
Yeah. How did you know that?
Honestly, did a little research, did a little deep dive.
Sock me on the internet.
Yep. And, but no, I already talked to Spotify, the higher ups there, and they know that this episode's happening. So they talk to their IT team and they know this is going to blow up. So here we go, boys. And Luke, I'll let you take it away here.
Awesome. All right, Garrett, 22 years old. I'm going to hit you with something right away. This was actually a question that was sent to me here. Okay. And before we start, I should have said this. I want you to really dive into some of this stuff. Okay. I want you to give us the dirty details. I want you to really explain things. I feel like our listeners love to hear about in-depth stuff instead of surface level stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I ask a question, when Luke asks a question, fucking balls deep, man. Just go all in. I won't say what I was going to say, but anyway. Okay. So 22 years old, started in 2017. The growth, dude, I've followed you probably since like 2018. That's when I remember seeing posts from 2018 and just the amount of
I feel like we've always kind of known who each other are. I mean, I was in Fargo once. It was funny. I was driving through Fargo and I was with my fiance at the time. I'm like, well, I'm not going to get through this town without seeing someone I know from Instagram. And all of a sudden, here's this guy pull up, hey, Garrett. She's like, who's that? I'm like, oh, it's my buddy Luke.
Did she look at you and be like, you're famous?
She's like,
you're famous.
She's like, what's wrong with this guy? I'm like, oh, that's Luke.
Luke, I don't know if you heard that story, but he was pulling through a Starbucks and I was on Veterans and I saw his pickup where it said G&M Outdoor Services and I saw the big G and I was like, I gotta stop. I was like, I whipped around. I think I almost got pulled over, and then I was like, Garrett, what's up? And he's like, dude, I'm really tired. I need to get home. I'm like, good seeing you. See you later.
Dude, that was like a Friday, and I'd literally been driving since like the Friday before. I drove like 80 hours in a week, and I'd been up to the West Coast and up to Oregon, Washington, back around. So I was just dead.
Oh man, good for you, man. I couldn't do that.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
It was good. It was fun.
Because that's your now wife, correct? That was your fiance.
Yeah.
That wasn't.
We're actually coming back. We got married. We basically eloped to the West Coast, so we're on our way back from that. So yeah.
Oh shit! I didn't know you guys had eloped at that time. Hell yeah. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad that wasn't like a Christina or someone else that wasn't involved at the time. But I'm just kidding. But honestly, though, I'm curious for myself as well on this. So year by year, I feel like it almost kind of like 10 times itself year after year for you. Just the growth that you saw. How did you grow? Like what were some of your secrets? What were some of the things that you knew or like you saw that you capitalized on and you're like, that's what's going to get me to the next step?
Yeah. So I would say a couple things. So like just for a little perspective, if someone doesn't know any of our story, when we started in 2017, I was 17, my sister Marlena, she was like 20, 21. And we had basically nothing. She had a bunch of credit card debt. I had $2,000 saved up. I was living with my parents at the time. She moved out and was making, minimum wage at she started working at a hardware store and went to work at a couple different construction companies, whatever. But so like we started from like ground zero. Both our parents always worked a 9 to 5. Like they never gave us anything. If you wanted anything, you had to work for it. So started really young with my grandpa, working with him for free up until the time I was about 15. They started paying me a little bit. And then, you know what every average kid does, they make a little money. They go buy a dirt bike, you blow it, whatever. So we had nothing. We were starting from ground zero. We weren't really involved in the community either. We were homeschooled. So like we knew our neighbors and whatnot, but like we weren't like really involved with the local communities. Like we didn't know anyone and we had nothing. And all we had, like I made a post the other day, like it doesn't take money to make money, it takes work ethic. Like we had no money, we had like no connections. We just had like a drive and like a want. Like we had a vision. Like we want to have our own company, we want to have employees, equipment, and like do work with people that we like being around. Our goal is always to be the best in our area, to be the go-to, service provider in our industry. So I basically quit the landscape job that I had and just went like all for it, like just like all in. Like at that point I had nothing to lose. I can go back to these jobs whenever. So like just started from there. I got our first job from Facebook, Facebook ad. Create a little website, free online, whatever we could, and then I got actually our second job was from a referral from that customer, another second job, and then just went on from there. And it's so like the opportunity is there for everyone. Well, depending on where you're at, where you're located. Like for here, everyone that lives in our area had the same opportunity we have. I think a lot of it is like doing the work, like putting in the work that it takes. It's so much easier said than done. And I think a big part of it is like people listen to podcasts like this, or they go to a training course for a week and they spend thousands of dollars and they listen to this guy and he pumps them up and they're all motivated, and they get home and they do nothing with it. Like they don't take notes and then make sure that they implement that and live by that day to day. Like that, I think that's a big part of it, is like figuring out what it takes. Because like just everything you need to know to build $1 million company is on YouTube. Like literally start a company and a landscape excavating and to build to $1 million, everything you need to know is on YouTube if you listen to it and then actually apply it. For so many people, they watch the video, they think it's funny, this or that, and they don't do anything with it. So like that's what we've done, is we've had a few mentors, we've changed kind of that over the years, as we've grown a lot. And just kind of like when you get some good advice, get a good tip, like utilize that, stick with it, try it instead of just in one ear and out the other.
I like that.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100% it makes sense. How do you stay motivated? Like how did you, obviously from where you started to where you are now, how are you constantly on that path? Like I have my vision. Like I deal with it all the time where I'm like, fuck this.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just kind of the way I am, but it's like, Luke, it's like, when you get up in the morning, don't forget, you got to breathe, 50 times a minute, whatever it is. Like, you just know you got to do it. It's automatic. Like, that's how this has been for us. Like, we've always, like, we knew what we wanted. It wasn't like we had to, everyone writes their goals down. We don't write our goals down. We do. We wrote them down at the beginning of the year, haven't looked at them once since. Like, we know our goals. Like, it's like, we both kind of have the same vision of what we want. We talk about it a lot, where it's like, it's kind of like, it was kind of just like in us. We knew what we wanted, and it was like, so like we wanted it so bad to where you don't have to write it down and look at it every day, because you want, you got to breathe, you need oxygen. You do it automatically no matter what. You don't got to think about it, you just do it. Like you get it. Like that's kind of what it was. Like we knew what we wanted, we were on the same track, and then we just like every single day since, we like for the first 3-4 years, like we put everything we had in this. Like everyone was like, we're working every single day, all day, like I mean it, like working 5 a.m. to 10, 11 p.m, sleeping, getting up, doing it over again all day, Monday to Saturday, half day Sunday, whatever. Everyone's telling me, oh, you're a workaholic. We didn't have any hobbies. Like that's what we did. We worked. Like, like people, you don't have any hobbies, you're a workaholic. Oh, you got your nose to grind, something like yeah, whatever. Like people, that work a regular job tell you that. Like that's what it takes to really, really grow, to really build like a good sustainable company in a short amount of time. Like that's what it takes. It takes a lot. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of risk. But it can be done. I think like you have to really want it. Like you have to want it bad. Like if you're just kind of like, if it's a hobby, like don't ever get there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Luke, you look like you had a question. I've got like 7 of them, so I'm keeping a mental note of them. So you go for it.
Yeah, Garrett, you talked about surrounding yourself with people and mentors, and that just happens as you start growing your business. But I know you made a big change when you decided that you can only grow so far if, when you're in the equipment. So talk a little bit about that, when you made that decision to step away from the, being the technician in the business and start running more of the back end.
And how'd you know when to do
it?
Yeah,
honestly, that's been tough for me, because when I was young, like I always loved running equipment. I always tried to be like the absolute best, like at it. Like I try to always learn from other people what I can, apply it, and like I would try to improve. Like I try to be the best guy in the piece of equipment around. So like I try to strive to keep learning with that. It was like, so when first it was just me on the field, and then obviously I was bidding, doing all the work, and then pretty soon we had enough work flowing in to where then I couldn't keep up. So then we hired my brother, and a couple other guys, another guy. And it just got to the point where there's so much work ops that couldn't do it. And then the sales, and like, it just kept growing and growing and growing. So kind of what we've done is, once we have enough work for, say, a sales guy, if you have 30 hours of work for a week for a sales guy, hire the sales guy. If you're doing 30 hours a week in sales, say, like, with your excavating, if you do a lot of, like, depending on the work you're doing, because some stuff you give it to builder, like we're starting a neighborhood on Monday, it's 71 basements. Like, we already have a price. We don't have to do any bidding there. We go in, we're going to be working there for a year. We don't have to do any bidding. So it depends a lot on the work you're doing. But say you're doing 30 hours a week in estimating, well, now is the time to hire, find a good estimator, get them going, and find enough, do more marketing, get enough so where you can work 40, 50 hours, and to where you can, get that off your plate. But obviously that's got to be a really good key guy, because he's kind of the face of the company. He's representing you and everything. But when I would say is like when you have the work you're close to have the work. Like, if I don't have any estimating to do, I'm not going to hire an estimator, but if I have 30 hours a week, 25, 30 hours, then I'm going to hire him. Then I'm going to do whatever it takes to get it to where he's working, full time. That's what he wants to do. Or you hire someone part-time, however.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point there, because, there's a level of bootstrapping you need to do in your business. You can't just hire it out right away. I think that's a great rule of thumb, though, is like 25 to 30 hours. And with myself, my thing was the finances. I found myself, I was doing all of our books. I was doing all of our invoicing, balancing everything. And it started to take over a little bit. And I said, okay, well, this isn't what I'm great at. So let's take this off my plate. Now you have like a whole new slate of, okay, let's now double down at what I am good at, and go from there.
Yeah. It's stuff that people's like, would you spend time and learn to get better at get better at things you're not good at or like doing, or do more what you like? Like, everyone's best at doing what they like doing, what they enjoy. So like, if you can do that and find people to do the rest, like, that's where you're really going to thrive. And you got to find someone that, like our guy, Michael, he's been with us for over a year now. Like, he's an absolute like animal. Like, he loves sales. He's one of those guys, like, started doing sales off the bat and just loved it. Super outgoing, always got a smile on his face. He's like on the ball. He says he's going to get a quote sent today. He gets it sent today, no matter what, before he goes to sleep. Like, he's awesome at sales. Like, he's better at it than me. He keeps up. He's constantly on the phone. Like, he loves it. And like, he's great at it. He's running 50 to 70 hours a week doing all the sales, and then I help out, when he's bogged down, or if he's on vacation, or if there's a client I've worked with a while or whatever. But so now he does basically all of our sales. We found him, really fortunate to find him through LinkedIn. It's been a really, really good fit.
Fuck yeah,
dude,
that's super cool.
Speaking of LinkedIn,
love LinkedIn.
Dude, LinkedIn has been amazing. Luke and I are going to do some sort of class on that, just because like we've seen it transform our businesses, and it's incredible.
I don't think we can teach it, Luke, because I want notes as well, and I'm no wizard at it. So, well, if anybody's really good at LinkedIn, let us know. So that leads into a really good question, Garrett. From the LinkedIn point, how did you find a lot of your work? 71 fucking basements in a development. Hats off to you, brother. That's insane. Yeah. But like,
just like for that customer, for instance, this guy reached out on Google a year ago. And he's like, hey, I got this 5-plex I need to bid on. And he had a bunch of like random site work. Because the original site work guy he had was kind of, the stuff was just thrown everywhere and it's kind of a mess. So he wanted to get rid of him to do it from doing all the foundations. And he wanted us to come in and then kind of clean the place up and finish out the development. So we gave him a bid and he doesn't reply. And so we call him, we text him, we email him, nothing, doesn't reply. So every week, every 2 weeks, we hit him with an email, a text, a call. Do that for probably 3 months, don't hear nothing. And then one day he says, hey, we want you to do it. Can you do it on Monday? We're like, yep, no problem. We'll be there. We'll get it done. And so we finished out that whole neighborhood. And now we're starting another, like, that was 3 months of follow-up just to get that one. And then we showed up, we did it, we're on time, everything works out good. They pay right away. Like now now it's like when they start the next one, like we're the guy.
Yeah.
So it's being hyperactive. It's being like super, like not sitting here waiting for it to come to me, but going out there and being really proactive about it. Like really good with follow up, sticking to your word, always doing what you say you're going to do. Like that really helps. That's what it takes.
So with your sales side tactics of that, like if somebody asks, or if somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, this contractor, they're kind of messy, I don't like how they do this. Do you tell them how you guys like operate? Or are you just like, nope, no problem. Thank you for letting us know that. And do you just try to fucking exceed their expectations and basically not try to sell them, but then let them notice that?
That's a good question, because I can't just tell everyone that, hey, we're the best, like
Yep.
we're not, we're trying to be the best. I don't know if we are or aren't, but we're trying to be like, have the best communication, best quality work, best follow through, everything. That's our goal. But like, you can't just come out and tell someone that. They're not gonna believe you. Like, they're gonna think you're arrogant, they're gonna think you're cocky. So to relay that, like, hey, this is kind of what we are, what we stand for, is kind of difficult. So what I usually do is I'll ask, okay, like, what's something you really don't like about them? What's something you want to change? What's something you do like about them? And and then it's always, of course, with the builder, it's always about price. Like, are you willing to pay a little more for better quality, or are you looking to kind of, to get it for a little cheaper? Like, just kind of feel them out. And then I was telling that, we always strive to be the best in our area, and to offer really good customer service, quality of work. And then, like I always say too, like, it's not about, everyone makes mistakes, and when we do, we always make it right. Like, and that's just comforting to them, because they know, like, if you acknowledge you're gonna make a mistake, and like, hey, when we do, we'll make it right, then like they're totally comfortable with you already, and like, they're not worried about anything.
They know that you're
So like on that, it's funny, on that project, when there was a big block wall they had put in, our guy drove a big wheel loader full of, full bucket of dirt, like 2 feet from him, and it bulged out the end of the block wall. So immediately we told him, like, hey, our guy drove by this thing, and we'll dig all behind it and reset the block, and you'll straighten it out. It'll take a guy an hour or two, whatever. And they go, okay, yeah, no problem. So got it done, no issue. We weren't, like, oh, it was like that, or beat around.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
no,
it was another guy. It
was.
wasn't us.
No, like, no, we're the only one there with the big wheel loader at that time. Like, it was perfect before. So like that's perfect instance. Like, making that little thing. It's like who you are when no one's looking is that's who you really are. I mean, we could totally try to blame on the other guy, or he's only leaning a little bit. It probably would have been fine, but it's like, no, we're going to make it right.
Yeah.
And that just goes so far.
I love how, because honestly, I'm sure you see it all the time on social media, and I do. I see a bunch of people saying on how they're the greatest, they do this the best, they've got the best machinery, and I'm like, dude. I mean, I don't believe that when I see it anymore, because I feel like
no one does.
No, and I feel like that makes you less credible. I'm like, let my work speak for itself. Let me have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
So I love how you do that too, because granted, I think you guys do really good work. I don't know the work that you guys do, but just from like the content you put out and how just like the positivity and like the attitude and like your videos you put out, I know that you're so sincere about it, and that's just through social media.
Yeah.
So if I was a contractor looking in, I'd be like, I want them to do my work. But on the flip side, do you see a lot of them? Go ahead, you're good.
Yeah, it's like don't tell me you're the best. Like, show me.
Yeah.
Don't show me. Don't tell me that you're the fastest runner here. Yeah, show me.
Yeah. You're the fastest kid in the class. All right, prove it. Let's see it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you see a lot of contractors, like, if you ask them those questions, like, okay, what do you not like about your current provider? Are you looking for a better price? Are you looking for, more of a quality product? Do you see a lot of them kind of say, I want cheaper?
Well, when you ask them outright, no one ever wants to say that, because then they sound like like a tightwad.
Yep.
So they usually don't want to come on and say it, but you can just tell by the reaction. Even if it's over the phone, if they hesitate or they pause, or right off the bat, they're sick of the guy and like, no, we're willing to pay a little more for better quality, for a guy that's accurate, that's not picking up the concrete guys, that's not, busting up all the curbs and ripping up the street. Like, it's always good. Like, I've never got like negative feedback. And it's always good to ask one thing they don't like, what they want to change, so that we can make sure we do that. So that if it's some little thing, like they pile dirt up right to the street, and then it rains and a little bit washes over and the city's on me. Like, then we won't do that. We'll make sure we keep the piles 4 or 5 feet back. So if it does rain, it's not, how every neighborhood now is so tight, there's no room for anything. So like that particular neighborhood, the city was out there, they had a big washout and like washed out into the wetland. You had to take it out. It was a big ordeal. So the city drove by like every day, and it was right by the city hall too, like a mile. So they're like driving by every day, like no dirt in the street, make sure the silt fence is up at the end of every day. So like that was one thing they brought up, is the silt fence has to stay intact. You have any dirt on the street every single day, you got to sweep it up, clean it up, and make a mess. Like, yeah, no problem, we can do that.
Perfect. No problem. So, easy expectation to exceed.
It's for sure, yeah, and it's good to know. Like, it's good to know what they don't like, and so to make sure that you can not be in that same place, and then where they want to improve, so that you can do that. It's really build their relationship.
Do you see a lot of loyalty? Like a lot of I call them the good old boys club. Cole actually gave me that term, and I love that term. But like the good old boys club, to when they're older and they've been working with this company for a while and they're kind of on the fence, but they're loyal to them. Do you see a lot of that, and is it kind of tough to break through?
Honestly, I see a ton of that. It's really hard to break through, but all you have to do is get your foot in the door. Like all you gotta do is do one job with someone, you know, do really good work, make it easy for them. People want to spend money and they want to, it's everything's about convenience nowadays. If someone has to, you know, handwrite you a check and bring it to your office, no one wants to do that. Like you got to make it so they can pay online, you make it convenient. Like a perfect example is this developer. We did he had everything set up. He had a perfect dirt guy, he had a good wall guy. Well, one time his wall guy couldn't get to a job when he needed it done. So he asked his dirt guy, you know, hey, who should I call to do this wall? I said, oh, call G&M, they'll do your walls. And so we went and did a wall for him. He's like, oh, this looks nice. And it was easy to pay. And I didn't have to, you know, come out here and walk you through it or anything. Like it was straightforward. So we do another one. And now we do all of his walls. And now the other guy doesn't do any of his walls. Like he's been with that guy 15 years. And,
Wow.
you know, we're doing a good profitable per square foot price. All it took was just doing one, making it easy for him, convenient. Our walls are tight, they're straight, you know, top's flat, like, and he's happy with it, and it's a good price. Like he's like, now we do all of them. Now every wall I had, it's like, hey, here's the address, you know, ballpark, how many square feet? Okay, this much, we make it work. Okay, let's do it. Pays right away. You know, great connection.
How hard is it
Some
to
of
get
those,
in the door?
it can
other
be
than
hard. It's really hard.
Like what are steps that
can
you
be
guys
hard.
do
Tricky.
without giving
Yeah,
away like
so,
all your secrets? Actually, give
oh,
away your
man,
secrets.
I'm
I need some.
Come on, Luke. What are you doing here?
It's dude, it's hard. If a builder has had an excavator for 20 years, like it's like trying to split a 6-foot rock, you know, with a 2-pound hammer. Like it's tough. It is tough. So like there's some builders that we've been calling on that we'll send them. We get your email off the website. Adam, we do weekly. You know, I don't know if you get it, like our email marketing. It's just a post of like the work we're doing, whatever. It's weekly or bi-weekly. Like we'll just take their email and we'll add them to that, and some will unsubscribe, some of them actually like it. So we're constantly popping up in the email. We're seeing our trucks around. We'll call them. We'll say, you know, we'll try. The main thing is get them out to lunch. If I can have just about everyone I've ever had out to lunch, I've done business with at some point after that. Like some newcomer, hey, this is what we do. This is what we offer. You know, as many times this week I can take out to lunch. And if you can get someone out to that, that's huge. But just put a face to the name. But otherwise, just being persistent. You're constantly popping them from. You call someone once, say, hey, this is a service we offer. If you ever need anything, you know, give us a call. Like you do that once, they're not going to remember. You do that every month, they're going to remember. And the second they need something, you're going to be the guy they think of. They're going to call you, and then you'll give them a bid, and you go do the work. But it is hard. It's tough. It's not something we've mastered. But like we have 8-9 builders, like good ones. We've had a bunch that we work for. Some that we don't work for, like they don't pay. You know, they beat around the bush, unorganized. So we have 8-9 that are really good, and those have come through. Some of them have called us, but mainly we've gone up to them. But there's a few that's just gone on our website, fill a request, and came a bid, and now we do all the work.
Fuck yeah, Luke, right there, bringing back us to our roots. That's how Luke got me started. We did the fill out our websites. Looking back, I'm like, I should have done a lot more than that. But contractors that don't pay, fuck them. And I'll say it on the air. Please listen to it. Fuck you if you don't pay. I don't care. I'm sorry. I hate that shit. I think just for like a number figure on my end right now, I think I'm from the last month, we have like 320 grand out. And these are like 30 days plus on invoices. And I'm like, I'm going to come to your guys' front steps. And like you said, make it easy. And I make it so easy.
Right.
Pay online. Pay with a credit card. Yeah. Fuck it. I got Venmo.
Yeah, exactly.
Venmo me or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
I'm just like, fuck. Right.
It's tough too. Like me and you, we're not corporate America. This is a small business here. 320 grand, that's a lot. Like I got a lot of bills to pay. Like you need that money. It's not like if I don't get paid, I'll be fine. Like no, you need that money. Like
no, when it's
some
30
of the big
days,
builders, like, they don't care.
You
like,
pay that within 29 days. Because if it's the 30th day, I'm sending reminders every 5 minutes, and I will be that douchebag. I don't care.
That's how Marlena is too. Like morning and night, and then we had her. They get so annoyed, so they finally just pay.
Yeah, it's like
this one guy. We're doing a wall. Yeah, it was funny. The one time we did a wall, and the guy's like, "Yeah, like here's your check." He's like, "Now tell Marlena to quit sending those reminders."
And you're like, "No, I will not tell them to quit sending those reminders." Oh, I love it.
Like, well, you paid. You're good.
Yeah, you're good. You want on to the next job. That's funny.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, what we started doing, and it's a lot different on the digital agency side, but to get rid of that, it's like, I don't even let people sign up with us unless we have a credit card on file and we set them up for auto pay. Yeah. And then it's on the first of every month, but that goes back to what you're saying, Garrett, of making it easy. Like, I know that I'm eating the 3% fee or whatever it is, but I don't even care because they don't have to think about the money. They don't have to think about writing a check, mailing it, all that shit. So it's like, make it easy, make it simple.
Yeah.
And honestly, it'll prove like during the long haul, you'll keep people around a lot longer.
Yep.
Totally. Yeah. And it's like with a gas company, the guy put a gas line too high and then lower it. He's like, no, we don't show up with machines. We have a check in hand. I'm like, man, that's what we should be. But with some builders, whatnot, like it's a $50,000 job. Like the odds of them giving you 50 grand before you start, like it's really not realistic. It's like you have to be your cousin to do that. Like no one's gonna do that.
Yeah.
And it's like everyone's in the same boat. That's kind of like new construction. That's kind of the way it is. I mean, like you got to be willing to have some money out there, and maybe even use a line of credit if you have to in order to do new construction. I mean, that's just the reality of it. Until especially starting out, like when I'm starting out, I don't have 40 years of backlog of all this capital saved up that I can float 500,000 for easily. Like no, that's not. I'm only been in business 5 years. Like
correct.
It's not. I mean, let's be realistic. Like that's not how it is.
Yeah. So Garrett, talking about cooperation instead of competition, what does that mean to you? Because I know that Luke and I talk about that since day one, but what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
And how do you live by it?
No, like we were at lunch the other day with a big dirt guy in town. They have 100 employees. They do a lot of big excavating. It's a great connection for us because they have boulders all the time to get rid of. They have a ton of general contractors that need walls. So to call them out of the blue, hey, they know who we are because we see them around all the time. Like, hey, you want to get lunch? Like, yeah, sure. And they're like, so who's your biggest competition? I'm like, we are. Like every time we don't, it's pretty, it doesn't have to be try to avoid it, but every time we don't call someone back or like, not being able to get this job right away, it's like, yeah, we definitely cooperate 100%. Don't compete. It's like I feel like if you're like competing, if you think like everyone's out to get you, like you're wrong because no one is. No one really cares what you're doing that much.
Yeah.
Like if guys worry so much about what other people are doing, and what I've learned with that is like, oh, I've seen this guy, he did so and so and so. It's like I don't even know that guy. He lives 40 states away. For all I know, his grandpa just gave money, he's buying all the stuff, and he's doing this. Like you don't know why he's doing that, or he has some this one-off job. Like if you compare, if you get to compare, like it doesn't work out. Like do what's right for you, like and like what to stay on track to your goals. And it's not like I'm not in a race against anyone else, like to have the biggest company or the best, like gotta have like the most trucks, and like no, that's irrelevant. That's not how you make a good sustainable company.
Yeah, I heard this quote at one of my coaching conferences, and it was comparison is the thief of joy. So if you start comparing yourself to others,
100%.
Whether it's like the good stuff or when they do something bad, if that gives you, that satisfaction, it's like, that is just like a thief of your joy, and you shouldn't care about what other people are doing. And so that's what I love about what you do is you're like, hey, like we don't have competition. And honestly, like a lot of people don't believe that. But I know I do, Luke does, you do. And it's just like, the more people we work with, the more you realize like, oh, we're all the same and we can help each other out in this world. And yeah, if they can't make a job, like you're probably gonna be the next one they call, and that can help your business long term.
All it is shoot yourself in the foot looking at, oh, this guy did that, so I need to do that. Like, no, you don't even have the same customer base. Like, he has 100 employees, you have 10. Like,
you're not competition. You don't do the same things. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
like,
think
I'm not going to do something just because that guy did. Just for solely that reason. Like, no.
Right. And I think really what it is too, is it's like the bigger picture. And I love how you see the bigger picture as far as like, you could even call it marketing, but instead of just dollars and cents coming in and going out each month, it's like, I know you guys have your Adopt a Highway, which I think is awesome. Yeah. You're in the home mag, you're in all these parades too, like you're sponsoring all this stuff. I'm like, man, that's what it's about. Like it's not about like, it's not about like counting your nickels and dimes and saying like, how many impressions did we get by sponsoring this parade in the local town? It's like, no, it's the big picture. It's your community perceives you a different way, the people, other businesses. And so, I mean, hats off to you, but I think that is my number one way to grow a business, is to just be genuine and dive into even things outside of your actual service, like the community, being involved with the church, different things like that. So I know you guys are big into that and, give back quite a bit as well.
Yeah, like the parades, it's huge. It's even it's a ton of good advertising. All of our guys love it. We all get together, and we're not doing any work today. We're all hanging out at the shop. You know, we're all talking about work, what we did this week, what we're doing next. Like, but no one's doing the actual work. Like we're shining the trucks. Like we're just goofing off. You know, we're having fun. Like all the guys love it, and it's huge. Like because it's all local people. No one drives 2 hours to go to a parade. Everyone at the parade, yeah, it's a lot of parents. It's a lot of like we get a lot of residential work from it. But like it's $30 to be in it. It's costs more to, you know, clean equipment and pull it off a job,
Drive it
and,
through,
you know, fuel it
actually.
up and drive it through than it does like enter. But like they're great. Like people bring it up all the time. There's never any other landscapers in it or like excavating guys. Like hardly ever. Like so it's one of those things. Like it's a no-brainer. It's a good time. It's well worth it.
You know what it's doing as well is it's building that good culture. Like you said, all your whole team is there. They're washing up, you know, the rigs and they're getting together. They're talking about work, but that's what they like to talk about. But it just,
Right.
it's you know, doing those things outside of work that, you know, can really bring
100%.
people together. And I mean, it makes it a
Right.
no-brainer to go work for you or to go work for Luke. And just, you know, you want to work with good people around you.
100%. Like on Monday, everyone, you know, instead of them just all being, you know, do whatever on the weekends like they always do, like you're talking about the parade and they're, you know, oh, now they know so-and-so a little bit or more. Could they actually talk to them a little bit, you know, not just, you know, in a hurry and on a job or whatever. Like it's huge.
Luke, thank you for bringing up culture. That actually, Garrett, how do you maintain such a good culture in your company? I feel like whenever you're posting on your story, you have the best attitude. Your guys have the best attitude. How do you make that space? How do you set that standard for your guys? Like, what do you incentivize them with? Like, what secrets? Again, spill them. Let's go.
Yeah, that's a really good question. So like nowadays, like I was talking to Case, you know, they're trying to get to buy equipment. They're giving us all this free stuff and giving us all these free demos. And I'll tell them, I was like, buying the machine is easy. Getting a good guy to run it is the hard part. Like I don't care what anyone's equipment. It's like, if you want to grow a company, show me your people. Like how many good people do you have? You know, how dedicated are they? You know, like how much do they actually like working with you? Like people has always been a huge priority for us. Like it's way more priority than equipment, those building, I mean, anything else. Like without the people, it's nothing. You know, like why have 5 semi trucks if you don't need drivers? They're worthless. Like I don't need 5. I can only drive one at a time.
Correct.
Like so people, it's a huge priority. And so this is, I'd say, like is a couple of things that with our culture is obviously we do some stuff with our guys. With employees, you don't want to be too involved. Like you don't want to be their best friend to where, you know, then like if you get too, like if they're your best friend, that can get to be a little, you kind of muddy the water. Like we'll go to a parade. Like we'll take them to Top Golf this year. We'll go like this Friday, we're all going golfing. That's the first time. Like we'll do a couple outing, you know, every month or two, we'll do something just to build a team. And so I would say with to have a good culture, you have to have standards and they have to be non-negotiable. Like we don't complain. Like no one complains. Like if there's a problem, you don't complain about it. Like we don't, you know, come up with excuses. We come up with solutions, and that's how we are. Like someone's complaining. It's okay, here's a problem. Okay, what do we need to fix it? Okay, you know, your truck seat's uncomfortable. You're not going to complain about it. We're going to, you know, go get you a new one, or you're going to sit on a pillow, like whatever it takes. Like it's kind of setting the standards of what we do and what we don't, and sticking to it, like no matter what. And it becomes a new normal. So a new guy comes in, he's complaining all the time. Like we don't go for complaining. Like, complaining is stupid. There's a problem, come up with a solution. Don't complain about it. This new guy's complaining all the time. You tell him, no, that's not how it rolls around here. You got a problem, we'll fix it. We'll come up with a solution and we'll move on. And then he'll either get it or he won't.
How do you instill that? Like I obviously, from like your perspective, yeah, I like you said, no complaints, whatever. But how do you show that with your guys and basically say, we don't complain here. If there's something wrong, let me know and then we'll fix it. Like what do you do?
It has to be all the time, because people are people. A lot of people get away with as much as they can. They'll kind of push the limits. They'll clock out 10 minutes after they leave the shop, this and that. Like you have to put your foot down, because there's a lot of people that will take as much as they can get. So like, especially when you have a lot of stuff around, like you have, you know, like guys want to use the trucks all weekend, and then like, okay, we say, yeah, you can use the truck, but you got to fuel it up and wash it. And they don't fuel it up. Like you got to make sure they fuel it up. And then, you know, just show them, basically like I said, set the standard, and you have to hold them to it. Like we don't complain. Like he doesn't get away with 20 minutes of just whining, complaining, and griping about a problem. Like, dude, you didn't solve anything. Like, you know how it is. Like you gotta, like, hey, what's the problem? Okay, here's the solution. Here's what we're going to do. And it's all the time. It's not only Monday to Wednesday, you know, we're withholding this. It's all day, every day. It's just setting the standards and not, like I said, certain things are non-negotiable. And then this is what happens. People that come into your company, they either get it or they don't. So
How do you know when they
figure
don't?
it out. Week later or month later, 2 months later, they're still complaining.
Yeah. They just don't adapt on, basically. They kind of out themselves.
Or or it's not what they want. Like they want to complain every day. Well, that's perfect. Then go work for the other 500 companies that are within 50 miles. Like,
yeah,
I don't care. Like that's not what we're going to do here, because that's what you want and that's how you want to be. We're not going to do that. That's not a way to win. That's nothing but, a downhill slope.
Fucking keyword right there. Win. Love that word.
And I tell you what, Garrett, I think it starts kind of from the top as well and within your team, but it's like the attitude that you portray, because if you just say it, it's not going to happen. You also have to live it. So, and I think
that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. What Luke's getting at too is like, I've never even met you in person, but I already love you. I'm like, dude, this guy is electric. He's always
just see Luke rise up and he's like, hell yeah.
He's like, we don't make excuses, we create solutions. I was like, all right, somebody just cranked the AC in here, but
well, you don't have AC, Luke. It went out.
Yeah, I'm putting that on the wall. But no, seriously though, it does start from the top, because you need those leaders that aren't going to be a boss, but that are going to lead. And it's cool to see that, you and your sister have, from what I've seen, gotten along so well. And I guess let's dive into that a little bit. How has that been, having a business partner that is family?
Yeah.
It's awesome because so it works really good because we're the opposite. Like she doesn't know anything about equipment, has no idea about anything on the job, barely. She knows that we need 4 loads of boulders and 6 rolls of fabric. That's all she knows. But so it works out perfect because I've always been an extrovert. I could talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime. She's the opposite. She's way rather sit behind a computer and send an email than talk to you guys in person. So she's always been that way, but she's just like me, where we've always been on the same track of kind of what we want, where we want to go. She'll get it done no matter what. If it's 2 a.m., 2 p.m., if it's billing, if it's setting up jobs for the guys. Now she's kind of the day to day, but like she does whatever it takes to get the job done. And since she's really good at everything in the back end, like she always says, hey, you're the front of the house, you gotta shave, like your tight staff's getting a little long. Or on the front, and she's the back.
Maverick staff.
Yeah, it works out good because she's good at everything I'm not, and vice versa. So it happens to work out perfectly that way. Where if we were the same, if she was a guy, say it was a guy, and we both operated equipment, and neither of us like paperwork, and like I don't like sending emails. I respond like 1 out of 50 emails I get. She's the opposite. She responds to every email, looks at everything, can crank them out like no tomorrow. So like she, what I mean? Like, so it's because we have, like, I'm a good front. She's a good back. So it works out.
Do you send all of your emails to her and say, please respond, Marlene, please respond?
Yeah, that's so me every day. I'm like, hey, can you respond to this guy?
I love that. That's great.
Or if I'm really busy, I'll send a voice like, hey, I just forwarded you so-and-so email, say that you did, I don't have time to type it up. Thanks, bye.
Even though you definitely had enough time to type it up in that, that's great. I love that. That's fucking funny.
No, I'll do that if I'm really busy. Sometimes I'll catch on. She's like, no. She's like, do it when you're done with whatever. I'm like,
oh God, at least she keeps you accountable. That's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, she does. And we both do. It's worked out really good, and we would never be where we are without her.
Yeah.
Without that backside. Just me on Instagram, doing what I do. Like, we'd never be where we are. Like, the back end is just as organized, if not more than it is, the front and what you see. Like, it's her billing. Like, I'm barely rolling off the job, and boom, she sends the invoice, and then the next day is like, hey, why aren't you paid yet? Yeah. And it's like, so like we always get paid. If yeah, like everything. She's like that. If we do job tracking, as soon as we're done with the job, she's categorizing all the expense that we had to that job. Oh, this one was 23% profit. Oh, that one was good. That was 40. Here we gotta adjust this. Like, she's on the ball from start to finish.
I gotta ask this question because Luke, sorry. How does she track that? Like, what softwares do you guys use in order for like your guys to give like, okay, I hauled in 150 yards of material. Here's the material I used. For the operators, okay, I was in the machine. This, like, what do you guys do to combat those?
That's a good question. It's really hard. We have 25, 30 guys driving around. This guy's hauling boulders. That guy's hauling dirt. That guy's hauling a piece of equipment. This guy just bought this from there. That guy bought that from there. This guy borrowed that from his neighbor. Like, there's a lot to keep up with. So we use Jobber, sync with QuickBooks. mainly. And then, so what we do, like say we have a job, it's 100 tons of boulders and, we're fabric and whatever else we're, grading, doing sod or whatever. So every single thing that we have at the shop that we buy in bulk, every time we have like a main number, we have like an internal cell phone number. So the guys, they grab 3 rolls of fabric, they type in 3 rolls of fabric, 8 ounce for, Chad J, the PO, whatever job name they're on. And then she has, that expense that costs us, and then categorize that to the job. And then anything we buy. So we have, $6,000 in gravel delivered to the job from the infrared, and she'll categorize that to it. So every single thing the guys use, or like any material they bring to the job, or they grab from the shop or it's delivered, that's how we track that. And then we track all the time through Jobber. So when they get, they're clocking overall, and then when they get to the job, there's 3 days there. Well, then we take all their time, and that's the job. And then our overhead. So our overhead per crew is about $1,400 a day. So for their 3 days, that's what, 28, 38, 4,200. So that 3 days there, that's 4,200 in overhead. That's basically all the equipment, her in the office, the sales, all the stuff you see on Instagram, the parade, billboard, whatever. Like all our overhead is in that. So it categorizes all that. So it's a little bit of a rabbit hole, but there's the way we do it, we track every single penny that we spend doing the job to the job, we expense it to the job. And just a little side note, like the only way to bid a job efficiently is if you know exactly what it's going to cost you from start to finish, like everything entail. That's the only way you know how to bid. Otherwise, how do you know what to bid? You're taking a guess. Like someone will send me, hey, here's this job, how much should I bid this for? It's like, well, how much is your excavator? How much is your fuel? How much labor are you paying? How long is it going to take you? Like, you're asking the wrong question.
Yep. How do you find your true cost? How long did it take you to find like your true cost on everything?
It took about a year. The first year in business, we had 260,000. Got to the end of the year, and we had no money. We were broke. We had to have a dime. Like, where'd all our money go? And we're like, man, this ain't sustainable. It was me, my brother, and I think one other guy. So 3 guys, in the field. Basically, one crew. We had 260,000. I was only 18. And so then we figured out, okay, where'd all the money go? And we figured, oh, well, when you have one truck, not a big deal, but you should know. When you have 3, 4, 5, 20 trucks, 25 trucks, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of expense. So that's how you got to figure out. There's a million ways to do it, but say you have a piece of equipment for 5 years, you're gonna buy it new, and the payment's $1,000 a month. Well, you're only gonna use it in Minnesota here 7 months a year, say. Well, now you got to figure out how much it's going to cost you in the 7 months, and then you work at 20 days a month, say. So say it's $1,000 a month divided by 20 working days. Whatever that is to so it's $100 a day. My cost.
Yep.
Plus it's going to be $150 a day in fuel. So it's going to cost me $250 a day. So if I have it on this job 3 days, that's machine alone would cost me $750. So I have to charge that back to the customer. And then my truck, I'm gonna have that there 3 days. Okay, that's another 400, whatever. You're driving a new truck, you're driving an old truck, like what's your payment? We spent a lot of time, a lot of effort breaking all that down. It's like we have every single piece of equipment we have basically going to cost us this much a year, and it's like our trucks, like those are spread through all of our jobs. Basically, all of our jobs pay for those because they're on every job. So like our 5, semi trucks are, say they're $1,000 a piece a month for easy math. If that's $5,000 a month and around all of our jobs, and we're on 20, working 20 days a month, well then that $5,000 has to be divided by the 20 days. So that's what, $400,
yep.
Whatever that math would be for something per day that all our trucks cost to each individual job. And now how many jobs you're on? You're only on 3 jobs, then your overhead per job be a lot higher. If you can have enough equipment, you're on 5 or 6 jobs, then you spread that, spread it not too thin, but as thin as you can, then it gets cheaper. So like it's a lot to it, but there's I should make a video just on that. But when we figured that out,
please do.
We never made a dime until we figured that out.
Yeah.
There's I learned this from the dirt monkey. I just from chatting with them and we kind of as we went through it, but like we never made a dime until we had our overhead down to a T.
Yeah.
That overhead, our overhead is roughly 25% of our overall revenue, like what we'll do. So like what everything costs, like everything unrelated, like not a direct cost, not a material to the job, your truck, your, Holly in the office to send an email to set up locates to manage the whole job from the background. Like that's kind of that however she's managing 5 jobs, those 5 jobs need to pay for her salary. Yep. So like it's got to be done right. Otherwise, because say if it's 25%, well, you didn't count for your overhead and you put 30% profit, you didn't make any money. You broke even because your overhead ate up every bit of profit that you weren't charging for accordingly to the job. You know what I mean? That's why you didn't make any money if you don't have it down pat, or you never make as much as you would like or think you will.
Yep.
And then that comes back to like following up with it too, because you can't just have your overhead and say, okay, $1,400 a day for overhead for that job. Okay, now you went and did the job. How did the job actually go? Did it take twice as long? Did you get done quicker? That's why you have to categorize to know that, okay, this one we're shooting for 40%. This one was 30, that one was 50. That's when we lost $4,000 on, why, figure that out. And then once you have a good backlog of time, how long does it take for two guys to dig, a 4,000 square foot slab on grade and backfill? That's 2 and hookup, that's 3 days. Okay, well, you have, this one took 2.5, this one took 3. Okay, so it's an average of 3 days. So we know we had to do 3 days of overhead on a 4,000 foot, slab on grade dig and backfill hookup. So that's why all that has to be tracked. So you get a good backlog. So you instead of just guessing at what the job's going to be, you basically know after you've been doing it for a little bit.
I love that. Love that.
Dude, and another thing too that I think is so important, and you've talked about this, I think in a couple videos before, but not forgetting to budget for profit. Like some people forget they get all their costs in, their labor, overhead, everything, and then they forget that, okay, we still need to grow. We need a surplus of resources. We need to, grow this thing. So how important is that? I mean, I feel like that's a lost art of people. They get so close and then they end up just breaking even on a lot of jobs.
Right. In contracting, it's easy to do. It's so easy to do because one thing goes wrong. Another thing is you have to have a really, really clear contract. Like this job the boys are just doing, like it's it's $50,000. We're taking up some old walls, putting new. Now the guy, needs the gas line dug in. Oh, your excavator's here. You need this gas line. Yeah, we can do that. It's only 2 feet deep. It's only gonna take an hour. But then they're over here. Oh, I just a little spot of concrete in my yard. Can you bust this out? It's like, yeah, we can. We can rip it out with the excavator, throw it in the truck, haul it away. That's another hour or two. So having a really clear contract, you want a $50,000 job, your profit can be dwindled away by just helping the guy out. And on the weekend, mind if I use the skid for an hour or two just to kind of grade my side yard over here where you guys aren't going to do anything? It's like, this is getting expensive. Like that's where your change orders come into play. But it's having, so what we've done, it's like having a really clear scope. I always tell a customer, like, hey, is there anything we can do about this price? It's like the only way I can get the price down is if the scope, gets smaller too. So there's no we know our numbers. If I know the job can cost me $50,000, I'm gonna bid it, for 65, 70. And they say, hey, you can do this for 58. It's like, no, not the same job, 58. No way. It's too tight.
Yeah.
So
bring your work scope down and then we can.
100%. Yeah. If your budget's only 50, that's totally fine. Here's everything we can do for 50. Here's a fair price. And then say, okay, yeah, we can do that a little bit later, whatever.
Yep.
But it's having if you do residential work, because a lot of homeowners and builders do this too. But they'll have you out for this, and you have you out for X, you end up doing X, Y, Z. You gotta make money. So it's having a very clear contract. So the second they ask you, hey, can you do this? Like, here's the proposal. This wasn't in it, because they always think a lot more than the proposal than what really is.
Oh yeah.
You have both, even though you both have the same copy, you got to be clear and stand your ground, because people definitely use and abuse you if you let them. So it's having a clear contract, having a very you have your cross your T's, dot your I's, and don't do anything that's not in the scope. Because they're most guys, they don't care. They might think you're buddy, and they're just trying to get something free idea. You can only do that so much until you're broke.
Yeah, Luke, we don't need to mention any names here, but it sounds exactly
this sounds
like
very familiar.
A little bit of a situation we had.
Yeah.
It's easy to do. Oh, this guy's so nice. He's genuine. Whatever. Next thing you know, you're doing $30,000 of work for 15.
Sounds about right.
Like you said, Luke, we won't name names, but you know who you are listening to this podcast.
He's listening.
And it's like, well, here's the thing. It's like, okay, if it's my aunt, I'll go do a job for free. I don't care. But if it's some random guy, I don't know. Dude, I don't owe you anything. I don't owe you, $10,000 for this or that. I'm not gonna do $10,000 work for free. You're a guy off the internet. I don't owe you anything. You know what I mean? I don't owe you anything. You don't owe me anything. It's just let's remember and do what we agreed to here, and that's it.
It's knowing your worth, really.
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
I love
Garrett,
that.
One thing I've been doing on my side of things, because I kind of ran into the same thing. It's totally different situations, but I've just been telling some of the contractors we work with, hey, this is my cost, to build a website. And because we try and make, X amount % per website, then it makes more sense. And it's really just like, we don't negotiate our value or our number, or I should say we don't negotiate our prices, but we try and get them to understand the value that we bring. And if it's totally okay, if,
100%.
if they don't see it, but it kind of is what it is. And that's what
Totally
I'm
fine.
hearing from you, like with the numbers, it's like, this is what we need to make to pay our people. This is what we need to make, for the profit. So this is the amount. And it's when it's a little bit more matter of fact like that, it becomes so much easier. And it's almost a breeze of, I have some people that try to negotiate. I'm like, no, I don't mean this the wrong way, but like, these are our prices. And if you don't want to do it, I'm not going to lose any sleep, but this is what it is.
Yeah. That was funny. There's a guy, we were building a bunch of bowling walls, and he's like, hey, can you just go like another 8 feet here, but like not charge me anymore, do it for free? Like, straight up, I'm like, those boulders weren't free, that skid ain't free, this guy ain't working
We'll get
for
right
free,
on
this
that.
diesel fuel ain't free. Yeah, I'm like, how can I do it for free? No, this other stuff's free. And he's like, okay, yeah, I get it, I guess. Okay, forget it.
And you're just like, why the hell would you even ask that fucking question?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? You're like, God.
Exactly.
You give an inch, they take a mile. I swear to God. That is such a true statement.
Yeah.
Garrett,
so many people do that. They'll push you a little bit if you let them. So many.
Oh, they will.
So Garrett, I just popped in my head here, but do you remember, like, what was your first ever project? Like, do you remember what it was in 2017?
I remember like it was yesterday because I thought I was gonna be rich and I was balling. It was like, it was a total disaster, of course. Yeah, I bid it like $2,000. I had no idea what I was doing. It was $2,000. I don't think I even priced out any of the material accurately. I just kind of guessed, that block it'll be that much. It was a little block wall with like a little flags on patio. I bid $2,000. Like, it'll take me a day or two. Ended up taking me a week, and the material alone was $2,000. So I didn't make it. It was a disaster. But it was like I got it done. The job was perfect, and we went to the job for actually the same customer like a month ago. So I went back and looked at it. It's still looking good. There was a little block wall, like a little walkway. It's like nothing. It was like 20 block and like 5 stepping stones.
I love it.
But like 5 years later, they still called us up like, hey Garrett, you still around? I'm like, yeah. And we went and like re-landscape. It was a job we didn't normally do. I'm like, for you guys, we'll do it, no problem. Like re-landscape around the front of their house, whatever. It was good. But then like they literally referred me to my second job. This little lady had a patio, and so like I went and gave her a bid. Made some money on that one. It's good,
dude. Yeah, it makes it a little easier when you make some money.
It does. Well, I mean, long term, it's the only way it's the only way it's sustainable. If we're not making money in 5 years, we're not going to be around.
Absolutely.
Garrett, when did you know? And I know, Luke, I know we're getting close to time. I have like a million questions. So Garrett, if you see me in your inbox later, don't be scared. Sorry, I got a bunch of questions. So from what was it, 2019 to 2020? When did you hit your 3 million mark? Was that 2020 or was that 2021?
21, yeah.
21.
Yeah.
What the heck, like when that happened, what were you like, all right, we got this shit going on? Like, I'm just trying to wrap my head around that to where, how did you know what you were doing was the right thing you needed to do? Like, how did you know the systems I have in place, the things that we're doing right now are good? And then, a side note to that question, how did you know, okay, I can start affording this equipment, trying to go after this market and this market, or, different markets?
Yeah. So that's a good question. Well, I mean, kind of, like for us, trial and error, we've tried a lot of things that don't work. We've tried software. Like we tried a lot of things that cost a lot of money that we were like, yeah, it's not going to work. That's, like vehicle tracking. We're still trying to find something good that we can track all of. We have too much equipment for one guy to keep up with, by calling the guy that's running it and asking how many hours on it. No, that's not going to happen. To have 40 pieces of equipment to keep up with service on, like you gotta be able to have that all on the computer. We can look, and you're getting a notification saying, hey, this service is doing 12 hours. So, on the equipment. So he knows that week he's got to get it done. So like we spent it's just trial and error, checking with the other guys in the industry. I mean, just knowing like what works and doesn't. I mean, when are you making money, when are you not? Like, where are you doing good, where are you not? And the only way to really know that is by tracking it close on. You bid a job for 20 grand. Okay, how much did it cost you? You thought it was going to cost 15. How much did it actually cost when the job's done? And doing that on every single job, so to where you can like really not even make like guess, like even more than an educated guess on the next job. What it's going to cost you. It's, I don't know. Well, you know how it is. Like some things, like it worked really good. That didn't. Never do that again. Do more of this. Like
do more of this.
Trial and error. Like yeah, it's different for everyone of what works for you and what doesn't.
Everyone's costs
You know,
are so
what
much
works for
different.
me might not work for you, but
Yeah.
totally. Like I don't know what you paid for your truck or your excavator or how much your insurance is.
Yep.
Have you gotten 4 accidents and your insurance is through the roof? Like I don't know.
Yeah. Like you said, everyone's so fucking different. Why?
It is like you gotta do your numbers.
Why do you buy new? I feel like you buy a lot of newer stuff.
Yeah. So, well, like dump trucks. I'll tell you a little dump truck story.
I was going to ask you about that.
It's hilarious. It's. So I'm 18 years old. I don't have any money. I still don't have any money. I still don't have any money today. So like I'm gonna buy cash. Like when we started, we couldn't get a loan. I was 17, right? It was funny. We didn't have any credit. We didn't have any money and no credit. No one's gonna borrow you a dime. So no one borrows a dime. So we had to rent. Finally, after like a year, I think I had like $4,000. And at the time, it was a lot of money because it's cash. And I'm not gonna finance a $4,000 dump truck.
Going like
so
this.
I found this truck on, yeah, I found this truck on Craigslist. It's an all international. It's like a 1985, and I just fell in love with the thing. It was white, of course, had like a black box. I went and bought it from this guy. I talked to him forever, like 3 hours. Next thing you know, it's dark. So I'm driving it home. It's an old international. The thing's falling apart at the seams. I'm looking down the road right through the floorboard as I'm driving.
You're like, man, I really like this thing. This is very affordable and great.
This thing's nice. And then the hole in the cab, the heat out the motor's coming in the cab. There's no AC, of course. I'm just sweating bullets. It's the middle of summer. I make it halfway home and the brakes are smoking so bad. The cab's full of smoke. The thing's just rolling because there's brakes are seized up. The thing's just rolling smoke. Finally get it home. It's like 11 o'clock. I'm so stoked. I'm vacuuming it out. I'm like wiping it down. I'm like getting ready for the next day. It's 11 o'clock on Friday night and 7 a.m. on Saturday. I'm out hauling boulders. And this guy, of course, I negotiated the guy with the guy that had some boulders from a pit. He lived right on railroad tracks, but it wasn't like on like a main intersection. It was just like a little crossroad on railroad tracks out in the middle of nowhere. I'm getting their boulders, 7 a.m. to bring to this job so I can have them there on Monday. And so the road goes right parallel, like the train tracks are here and the road goes parallel. So I was driving along going like parallel with the track. So of course I'm looking at it in front of me, there's no train because there's no arms or nothing. So I'm in this truck, it's so loud, you can't hear nothing. The muffler's falling off, it's leaking out of the head, you can't hear nothing. So I turned right in the track and I never looked right, 2 sets of tracks. And as I was crossing, I was on the one set of tracks and all of a sudden just a massive train horn. My heart literally just stopped. I just slammed on the brake because I was on the set of tracks and I never even looked the other way. And all of a sudden, it happened to be on the other set that I wasn't on. It was literally a foot from my grill.
Oh my God.
I was like, that's the most near-death experience I've ever had in my life. My heart literally stopped. I just slammed on the brakes as a manual. So of course the truck died. It was literally a foot from the grill.
Dude, I bet you had to like freaking kickstart your heart back. You're just like, come on, baby, keep pumping.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Dude, my heart literally stopped. I kid you not. That's the most near-death experience I've ever had. Because if I would have been on the tracks that I was on, I would have been dead. I was literally on this first set of tracks and it was on the second. I kid you not. That thing was literally on my grill.
Oh my God.
And so I just slammed on the brakes. So of course there's big skid marks. So then later that day, the guy was gonna rock from the Garrett. You see those skids out there? Like what happened there? I'm like, no big deal.
Don't worry about it.
No problem.
Oh man, I'll tell you what, from that
first
story, it just confirms that dump trucks are trouble. I don't care what anybody says. Dump trucks are fucking trouble. You need them.
And they're expensive. And then so we've got 3-4 old junk ones, constantly fix them up, constantly losing money. Like we're so sick of it. The last one we had 20 grand into it and sold it for $2,500 because the whole thing was falling apart.
Yeah,
our guy was literally dumping a big load of dirt and the box literally folded over the lift. The front of the box just fell right on the frame right over the lift. Like, no, I'm done. So
get these out of my sight.
Yeah, it's like we'll try some newer ones, obviously big payments, but if you don't have any repair bills and use it all day every day, it's worth it. When you said something about buying equipment, like it's absolutely the worst if a guy's like, oh, well, I have to work for this, sure, I'll buy another excavator, I'll buy another dump truck. What we do is we don't just go buy a piece of equipment and hope for the best. Like that's like whether like hoping for the best isn't like there's a saying like hoping for the best isn't a plan to success or something like that. Like you got to do more than hope for the best. What we do is, so we'll break down, say we're going to buy a dump truck. It's the last one we buy is $200,000, say. Well, okay, how much can that make in a day and how many days a year are you going to use it? Okay, this payment is, say, $3,000. Insurance is $500. This truck alone is going to cost $3,500 a month and it's going to go, through 60 gallons of fuel in a day. Okay, so you figure out what's it costing a day. Okay, this truck's gonna cost me $700 a day, and I can have it a while. And plus, there's gonna be some repairs. There's gonna be tires. You got to plan for maintenance. So say it's gonna cost me, $700, $800 a day, depending on the truck you have. Maybe it's 600, maybe it's 400, depending on what it is. And then your drivers. So like we break it down. Even an excavator. Okay, how much money can I make in a day with a 225 excavator? I can make $6,000 easy. Okay, well I can afford it. So that by breaking it down of how long you're going to have it, and then how much it costs, your per day cost, and then if you have the work, main thing is if you have the work for it to keep it busy. You know what I mean? Because like I always say, equipment and new nice stuff is easy to afford if you have good profitable work for it. If you don't, then it's tough.
Yeah.
I mean,
I just had to jot that down. Sorry, I didn't mean to stray away from the conversation. I was like, this is way too good. Keep going.
Yeah, just figure out what's going to cost you per day. It's just like been the job, how much is going to cost you today, and how much are you going to make? You know what I mean? Like do some basic math, figure it out instead of buying it and hoping for the best, or because it looks cool on Instagram. Like, no, don't do anything because it looks cool on Instagram, because in the long run, it's not going to work out.
I've said it once and I'll say it before. Instagram is only a big dick swinging contest.
It is.
It is, but it is really fun.
There's a lot
I'm not
of them
gonna
out
lie.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
It is.
funny.
But I mean, there's some good on it. Like Instagram, Facebook. I probably do something with Facebook that no one else on earth does. It's like all in general, just if I do social media in general, I don't use it to see what I rarely use it. I don't go on Instagram and scroll. I might look at a couple things. I'll make a story. I'll answer DMs and I'm out. With Facebook is a lot of local people who sit there. I'm on the pot. I got a couple minutes here. There. I'm ever not doing something. If I ever am on Facebook, I make a post or whatever. I'll see what I'll do is I'll sit there. All these recommended friends that you have. It's mutual friends, people in your area. I'll just sit there and add friend. I'll sit there, like all my friends, a lot of them on Facebook is ones I've just randomly added, and then I post. I say what we're doing. Hey, we got rock still. Hey, we're doing this, doing that. Okay. And then you keep popping up in front of people, and next thing you know, this guy's asked for a job. This guy needs a job done. This guy has boulders he's willing to sell. So like being proactive again, going out, like basically create on Facebook, you can create your audience. You friend 100 people, 50, 60 of them are going to friend you back, and then all your posts are going to pop up in front of them where they wouldn't otherwise. So we've gotten jobs, we've gotten good employees, we've sold equipment and stuff all just through Facebook, just from me, deliberately growing the audience on there. It's crazy, but like it makes a big difference.
That's super cool.
Because Instagram, because like with my Facebook, everyone I add is a lot of it's all around here. It's all people that I run into at the gas station or I see around and whatnot. And they start seeing your posts, they start seeing you around, all of a sudden they recognize you, they know who you are. Well, like, you do that for a while, it's a long game. But Instagram, if I friend some guy in New Jersey, like it's pretty rare we're ever do business together, or he's gonna refer someone to me or vice versa. Like it has happened, but it's such a less ROI where like Facebook is where we've got to get a lot more work. I've gotten a lot of people who've got more employees. If people just watch what you're doing, like I want to do that. Or, I can tell, it maybe a little better culture than this, old crappy company, whatever.
For sure.
Just kind of, getting, the more you get out there, the more you can expose yourself, the better.
That's
cool. And my philosophy on that is why not do the whole umbrella of Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Google My Business? Because even if you just at the very minimal, just cross post everything and, put it on each channel, because Facebook, you're going to get different sort of people listening. Instagram, of course, you're getting different people. LinkedIn is even further, from that. And then Google My Business, obviously that just helps Google like pick up your keywords. So I always just say when in doubt, just cross post it to all platforms, have a clean, consistent brand. And then, sometimes it's not trying to get the job that day. It's, in the future, you want to have at least 24 touch points with somebody before they're going to buy from you. So it's like, get in front of them, continuously get in front of them. And definitely bring the energy and bring the positive attitude as well.
100%. Yeah. It's like if you need business, well, you start marketing today. It's not going to help you today. It's going to help you in a couple months. Instagram, Facebook, it's all the long game. If you need a job today, you're not going to get it from Facebook. You're going to get it from calling a past customer or, a referral or something like that. Like it's definitely a long game.
Yeah, definitely. We call that like database reactivation. So if you have a list and you can just start hammering the phones, and that's another touch point of just getting out to them and putting yourself in front of them again, because maybe they didn't need you when you reached out 4 months ago, but just keep putting yourself out there and they'll be like, oh yeah, I did see you in the parade and I did see your ad on FaceTube or whatever that platform's called. And then, then they book you. And
I
it's
got
like,
a magazine. Yeah. I
Yeah.
got a magazine in the mail and you guys were on the front cover, and then you were in the newspaper and you were in my email, and I seen your truck on the road, and I seen your yard sign on the corner, and I seen your billboard. And if you pop from anywhere, whenever they think it might be a year, they need something done or they know someone, you're the only one that comes to mind. Like, you got the job.
Yeah. 100%.
Consistency is key.
Yeah. And it's just that omnipresence, like just always being out there and being available. Oh.
Yep.
Need another water.
I grab another water.
He's getting
there
hot.
we go. It's getting
just
as we're turning up the heat here. So
one thing that Luke doesn't have.
Yeah. So Garrett, we're going to wrap up here in a little bit, but I want to talk a little bit before we jumped off. I was watching some videos and I saw that you hadn't paid yourself for the first about 2 years. And I thought it was interesting because I did the same exact thing. So I started Phaser in 2019 and didn't pay myself until I went full-time with in 2021 in August. So talk a little bit about that, because I think there is kind of a misconception with when you start a business that you're just rolling in the cash and it's all great, but how and why, how and why did you, not pay yourself for 2 years? And then like, how did it help you?
So if you've ever grown a company, you know exactly what it's like. It costs an insane amount of money to grow a company, to build processes, to buy equipment, buy insurance. Like, our insurance is over 150 grand this year. Like it's an insane amount of money. So like that, putting it all back in, the more you take out of it, the more your business is going to suffer. Because like starting out, your business isn't just cranking in revenue. It's all this extra money laying around. Like, oh, what am I going to do with this? Like, no, when you're growing, like it costs a lot of money. So I basically did that. I still living at home when I moved out when I was 18. So obviously then I'd take a little bit of, that's when I started paying myself a little bit towards the end when I was 18. It's just basically just enough to get by at that point, pay a little bit of rent and, food, whatever. But I basically did that just because the less you take from a business starting out, the faster, and, the more you're able to grow, the more you're able to pay stuff off, the more you're able to, buy more equipment and buy smaller stuff cash. Like, so that's basically why we did. Like, I would say starting out, take as little money as you possibly can from your company and just keep putting it back in, because long term it's going to make a huge difference.
Yep. Yeah. And I've had conversations with other entrepreneurs or people that, want to start a business, and they'll say, well, how do you live off of this much? And I'm like, honestly, like I can't necessarily tell you that. Like, you got to dig down and figure out, like, what do you want? And I am definitely on the side of, I would rather not pay myself a dime and like go sleep in the street if it meant that this business that I 100% believe in is going to succeed. And yeah, I mean, we've been running now for 3 years and I still pay myself just a little bit just to get my wife and I by, and she works as well. But it's like, you see the value in, building this asset and building this up for the long term, because we're not trying to make a quick buck in 1 year. We're trying to build this over the next few years and 10, 20 years.
Totally. Yep. And like I said, the less you take out of it starting out, the more it's going to help you in a couple of years down the road. And yeah, like you said, we were only 5 years old. Like we still have a long ways to go. So like, if we can still, be lean on what we take and then build like a really good machine that's just cranking out $5-10 million a year. Well, then we can start, year 7, 8, 9, 10, then we can take a lot more money out if we wanted. Once we have this big machine that's just cranking, mainly on its own, or, really profitable, or like, then you're building a big machine that can go forever, that you can make a ton of money from in the long term. So I think starting a business young, if you live at home or you live for cheap and you're not married, like that's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
You have less obligations outside of work. You don't have a mortgage. You don't have, a wife's vehicle payment. You have a wife that needs a $10,000 ring. Like, it's a lot cheaper to be on your own and young than it is, with like Luke, like having, a kid or two. Like, it's expensive. It's a lot of obligation. Like, it's hard, a lot harder to do, a lot more to it. It's like building two businesses. It's like you got the whole thing at home and you got the whole thing.
You got your family business and then the actual business, right? Yeah.
Right. So true. My a really smart guy, I know he's an IT guy, he's my uncle. He's done really well for himself. He told me when I was starting out work, he's like, Garrett, you think starting a business and building that is hard? Wait till you get married. That's like, yeah, whatever. It can't be that bad. Now I'm getting into it, but like it's
it's not like your freedom is stripped or anything, but you have other people to answer to, and you're like, well, what if I don't want to answer to you right now? I want to do my own thing. It's like, nope, sorry, you can't.
Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
No. And you know who the warden is? Your
Can't do
wife.
that.
And you're just like, well, I can't make the warden mad. Fuck. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
I'm excited that you guys, congrats to you guys on just getting married. And, if you decide to have kids or don't, my experience, I would have 3 kids right now if it was up to me, but got to take it slow. We got to get married first, got to do the whole thing. So, but yeah, no, it's so much fun. I love it.
Garrett, thanks a million, man, for jumping on the show here. And when we were putting this together, we're thinking like, who is going to be our next guest? Who would be perfect to have on the show? Obviously, like we had people messaging us, telling us, who they wanted, and your name came up a few times, and we're like, okay, this is a no-brainer, like a Minnesota. Just, I mean, you're just like the guy. And I think a big part of it too is a lot of people say like, oh, like you're killing it, you're doing all this great stuff, but I mean, there's so much more that goes into it behind the scenes. And like, before we jump off here, last thing is, dude, like, I mean, it's not easy, right? And you probably get a lot of, attention from that. And that's why I wanted to, talk about, how it was working with your sister too, because, there's more than one person that runs the business, and that's in my business, that's in Luke's and yours. So I think it's just so important, but you also do have to pat yourself on the back because, you are a leader and you are leading, helping lead this team together. And I just think it's badass. It's cool. And it was like, you're the perfect guest to have on, and you're in the running for Dirtbag of the Year. So, I mean, that's a huge honor.
That is a really big honor.
Yeah, that is. I didn't know that was a thing until now, but it's
neither did
it's
we
honestly,
until
it's a lot of hard
yesterday.
work.
So
It's commitment. Yeah. Perfect. It's a lot of hard work. It's commitment, and like I said, it's almost even less hearing and more doing. Like, you got to get up there and do it. You got to get up there and make those calls. You got to make those phone calls you don't want to make. You got to have those uncomfortable conversations. You got to find someone that you really like working with for whatever reason. Like, it's tough. It's not easy, but it can so be done. But you have to, like I said, you have to want it really bad. If it's a hobby and you're kind of in for it for the money, if you're just in for the money, you're never going to do good. You never get the money. That's the way it is. It just, you gotta have it for the right reasons and be 100% committed. Like, you have to be willing to do what it takes. If it was easy, everyone would do it. Obviously, it's not easy. So you got to be willing to do, what everyone else doesn't want to do on a regular to really get there. And then, long term, you can really, it is what you make it to be. I mean, if you come, I think of I can and how I will and when and why. Like, I don't ever complain. Like, I have so much to be thankful for. Like, complaining doesn't get you anywhere. Like, I hate hearing people complain. There's a problem. Don't complain about it. Come up with a solution. Get it done. Move on. Get that done. Go to the next thing. Like, attitude is everything. Drive. Why? Like, figure that out.
I like that. I like
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Words of the wise.
Yeah. Well, Garrett, that's a wrap, man. Thank you again for being on the Dirtbags podcast. Your insight in the numbers is fascinating. And I think it just becomes so simple almost of just, okay, this is what we need to do. So it was really cool to have you on to, discuss the numbers, and just your whole story is incredible. So I know Luke and I will be, cheering you on, but I know we're going to be meeting up soon. So it'll be good.
Oh yeah, man. No, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I was happy to come on and chat for a little bit. It goes by quick.
It does.
Yeah.
Especially with these.